Monitoring in our Linux system. How we can do the monitoring? Monitoring means we will see how we can manage the process, and we have seen how we can manage the process. We can see that monitoring also. Now, monitoring the status of our Linux system, we can monitor this by using the different commands. Like for example, we can use the ps command to monitor the process, what process are running. We can use this with -ex, that is it will do the full executed process. Then also we can use ps-all executed process from the user, and this will show the status also, status flag, that whether the process is running or not running. Now we can use the top command also. It will give you a task manager type. In Windows we see the task manager, so the top manager, this top command will do what? It will give the process monitoring as like the task manager we saw in Windows. In a real time it shows what happening in the system and what process are running, what resources they are using, and also it shows about the PID, also it shows about the priority and the nice value for that process. Then also it shows about our system information, like what is the total task running, total task, how much task is running, sleeping, stopped or zombie. Then also it shows about the information about the CPU status. That means this is the user process, system process, then this is the nice process, ideal, the processor is a lot of ideal, it is waits, hives, signal, system in, system out. So it shows all these information about the processor, like hardware level informations. Then it shows information about the memory, RAM, total RAM, free RAM, used RAM, and buffer and cache RAM. Then also it shows about the swap memory, how much swap is total we have and how much is used and free. So if we want to see more detail about this swap, this top command, then we can press the H command here, and it can give you the help about this top command, which you can use. These commands you can use to do these other things. Then to quit from this top, we can press Q. Now when we press Q, it will quit from here. Now if we want to see the information about the CPU, then we can see the information from the file which is running under the process directory. Under the process directory, all the running process files are there. So if we want to see the information about the processor we have, so we can see the file called CPU info from the process directory. In the process directory you will have all the real-time running process files. So we can see the process information about the CPU information, about the current status of the CPU information. We can see the file here, CPU info. I am using a cat command to see that, and it is showing me that this is the total information about my processor. It is saying there is a processor, there is single zero processor, I have only one. This is the vendor ID, genuine Intel processor, CPU family is this is the model, this is the model name, Core i5, steppings, microcode, CPU megahertz, cache size, physical IDs, sibling, and all other physical informations. Then also it shows here these flags, that means the technology which this processor can support. It is the flags of these technologies which this processor supports. So there are different technologies the processor supports, and it shows those information about those. These flags indicate about those technologies which our processor supports. Now if we want to see the information about our memory, then we can use from the process directory, we can use the same from the same process directory, we can use meminfo. We can use meminfo command, and it will show the information about the memory. And memory information, that means the total information about the memory, that means this physical RAM, then the swap memory and everything. It is showing that this is the total memory we have: free memory, available memory, buffer, cache, swapped cache, active, inactive, active anonymous, inactive anonymous. Then it shows information about swap, total swap, free swap, dirty, and everything. And this information is also a real-time information. That means it changes. Suppose if it is using more, if your RAM is more using, then it will change this free RAM or available RAM. If suppose you do this multiple times, so you can see the changes here. Now this machine is not using much processing powers here. So we are not seeing much changes here, but it shows you the changes. It shows you the real-time changes there, because the process directory contains the real-time information about the process. Now if you want to do check that, you can do list that you can check the file continuously by using the command cat, or we can use one more command. It is called watch. This watch command will do what? It will run the command which you want to run within 2 seconds. That means after the watch command, whatever the command you want to run, you just give after the watch command. So watch command will do what? It will execute that particular command after every 2 seconds. For example, I want to check the memory information, so I will use cat command to check the memory information from the process directory, and this is the memory information file. Now remember, I am using this command before after the watch command. So watch will do what? It will execute the file, it will execute this command, and it is executing this command after every 2 seconds. As you can see here, after every 2 seconds it is refreshing it, and whatever the changes you see here, you can see the changes like how much memory is free, how much memory is available, used. Now this system is not in use, it is total free. So if you see if you run the command into some busy server, then you will see what it is, what is the load the server is having on the RAM or memory. So this is what the watch command. The watch command will do what? It will run the command, whatever the command you want. It will run the command after every 2 seconds. You want to come out from here, you can press Ctrl C, and it will do what? It will close. It will close that process. So this command do what? When you see the file mem.info, it will show you the information about the memory, and we use the cat command to see the information. But if you want to run the cat command to see the information after a very quick after, then what we can do, we can use the watch command. We can use it for anything else. We can use any other command which we want to run. So it will run after the 2 seconds. The command what we give, it will run after every 2 seconds. Now if you want to see the information about our memory, then we can use free command also. It will show you the information about the RAM memory, what is the total RAM memory we have used, free, buffer, cache, and available. Same as it will show the information about the swap memory. Then for checking the information about the virtual memory or the total memory, we can use VM state command also. Now VM state command will do what? When you run the command, it will show you the information about total memory and CPU and system, everything. It shows about here like process, read, buffer, then it shows about the memory, the swap memory, free memory, buffer memory, cache memory, then it shows about the swap input output, then it shows about the input output, block input output data, then it shows about the system here, then it also shows about the processor. This is the processor information. So how much your RAM is using, how much your swap memory is used, how much your block input output it is having here. Then also it is showing about the system processes, system thing. Then also it shows about the load on the CPU. Now when you run this command, it will show you the information till now. Till now, that means till now whatever the load you have on the RAM, memory or processor, it shows that information till now, total. But if suppose we want to see or we want to do the monitoring, so what we do, we monitor for this for some time. That means we use the monitoring tool to do the monitoring for some specific time. Like for example, I will do the monitoring for 10 minutes or half an hour, and then whatever the data I will collect, that data I will use to monitor daily. I will monitor daily at the same time for half an hour, and then at the end of the week I will compare the process. I will compare all the files, all the data, and see that what is increasing, what is decreasing, and what is needs to be upgraded. So monitoring basically do what? It do the monitoring of the specific resources for the time period, so that we can see that the what is the trend, like what is the trend is increasing or decreasing, and which resources are using or having a more load. Then we can upgrade those resources like memory, processor or swap. So we should update, we need to update those resources. Now when you run this VM state, it will do run first time it will show you the total till now. But if you want to see it in a time frame, then we can do that by using the VM state command. And after that you can mention like I want to see it in every 2 seconds 5 times. Then it is running the process, running the command after every 2 seconds, and it is running for 5 times. So it run the command after every 2 seconds, and then it runs it for the 5 times. Now first time when it runs it, it shows the total. It shows the total here. Then after that it shows the current status time. It shows the real time information. Now real time, this machine is not in use, so we have 000 everything everywhere. Mostly it is ideal. You can see the CPU is ideal 99%. But if you see the system which is very much in use and it is used, so you can see that, you can see the changes there. You can see what is happening and what is getting, which information is getting more load and which CPU or processor is getting more load. Now what we can do, we can redirect this information into a file to save it for the future analysis. Then we can analysis these, we can do daily these things, and then at the end of the week or end of the month we will analyze all the data and see what is the trend and what is increasing, what is decreasing. So this is also, we have a monitoring command. Then we have one more command, IO state. Now this IO state will test the input output status of our hard disk. So whatever the hard disk we have, it shows the information about that. Like for example, I want to see the information about SDA. We have the hard disk, single hard disk, that is the first hard disk, it is SDA. So I want to see the information about this first hard disk. So I will give the name of that hard disk. Now what it is showing here is the name of the distribution we have, then the kernel version, and then also it is showing the machine name here. It is showing the date, architecture, and how much CPU we have, and then it is showing about the CPU average load. It is the average load for the CPU, like user process, nice process, system, input output, weight, still ideal. This is the processor status, load status. Then here it is showing about the status of this hard disk, SDA, and it is showing this is running 7.2 tape per second, KB read per second is this, KB write per second is this, and KB read total till now is this, and written till now is this. Now again this is the total information about till now. But again, if you want to see it in a time frame, then just like the VM state, we can use a command with, like, I want to use after every second I want to see it 5 times. So first time it will show you the total, then next it will show what? The real time information. So when we see here, in the first time it shows the total information, like total read and total written. Then next time it runs, it shows 0 here because it is not in use, so we are not having any information here. But if we want, then we can, if the machine is having load, it is working, then we can see how much load it is having on this hard disk. Or if you want to see a specific partition information, then we can mention the name of the partition directly. So it will show you the information about the particular partition we mentioned, SDA, SDA1, SDA2 or whatever. And then also we can use it to see it into the time frame. So if I want to see it on for a minute, so I will say in every second I want to see it for 60 seconds, 60 times. So it will show me for the data for the minute. So this is the second, how many second you want, to run this, after how many second you want to run this, and then how many time you want to run this. So just like this you can mention the time frame. Now next command is DMI decode. Now this DMI decode will do what? It will check the information about our hardware, information about hardware of server. If I give -t only, then it shows that we can use after t, we can use these options. That means if we want to check the BIOS, then we'll use this command. It will show you the information about BIOS. We want to see the information about the system, then we can check it by using this command. Then we have option to see the baseboard, motherboard, chassis, processor, memory, cache, connector, slot. So whatever information you want to see, we can mention that. Like for example, I want to check the BIOS, so I will give -t. After the -t I will give BIOS. So it shows the information about the BIOS. This is the BIOS information. Vendor is Phoenix Technology Limited. Version, release date, address, runtime size, ROM size, characteristics, and all the other things. We want to see about the baseboard, the motherboard. So we can say that I want to see the information about the baseboard. So it shows the information about the baseboard, what type of motherboard we have, and what we have here: DMI type 2, 15 byte, and this baseboard information is this: Intel Corporation, product name, version, serial number, feature, location of chassis, handle type, and all the other things. Like you want to see about the slots, how many slots we have, so we can mention we want to see the slots. So it shows how many slots we have in the system and what are those slots are. So here it is showing that these are the slots we have. ISA slot J8, type is this, current is unknown, current usage is unknown, it is not used, length is short, characteristic is this is the address. Then there is another slot, it is also not used, there is another slot. So these are the slots we have. This one is in use, this is PCI slot, and this PCI slot is in use. This PCI slot also is in use. So it shows about how many slots we have. And then connectors, you can check connectors, what different connectors we have here. You can see the 9-pin dual inline pin. This is the COM1 port we have. Then we have these port for printer. Then we have the port for keyboard. This is keyboard port. This is PS2 port we have. So it shows information about hardware, information about our server, and it can show all these information. Now monitoring, we have seen the process monitoring, we have seen how we can check the process. Now there is, in the process we have a priority process also, and that priority process called NICE. So process priority, and it is called the NICE concept. Now these NICE levels, so for the priority we have the NICE levels, and these NICE levels are range from -20 to 19. By default, processes will inherit their NICE level from their parent. So when we run the process, so it will inherit the process NICE value, it will inherit from the parent process. Now when we run the parent process, so it will run usually with 0. By default it will run with the 0. Now higher NICE levels indicates the less priority, and the process easily gives up its CPU uses for others. So when we have the higher priority, higher NICE value, that means it is getting the less priority. That means 19, if you have a -20, that means it is having a very priority, and when you have 19, that means it is having a very least priority. So while lower NICE values indicates the higher priority, so the process is less inclined to give up the CPU. So the higher priorities will use the CPU it will not give the CPU anytime, and the lower values, the higher values of the NICE, the higher NICE value will do what? It is having the low priority, and it can easily give up the CPU uses, but the lowest priority will not give the CPU uses very easily. So if there is a contention for resources, for example, when there are fewer active processes than available, so CPU cores, even process with a high NICE value, high NICE level, will still use all available CPU resources they can. But when there are more processes requesting CPU time than available cores, the process with a higher NICE value will receive less CPU time than those with a lower NICE value. And only root is allowed to set negative NICE values and lower than NICE level on existing process. Regular unprivileged users are only allowed to set the positive NICE value. So the NICE value, when the priority is less, then they will use the process more, CPU processing power of the CPU they will use more, and the higher level will not use that more processing power. They will not get the priority. Very simple. And also only root can set the minus NICE level, but normal users can set their level for plus. That means 0 to 19 they can set, but they cannot go -1, -2, -3. So priority, higher priority, that means the NICE value will be -20. This is the highest priority. 0 is the default one in the middle, and the lower priority is 19 plus 19. In top command, when you see the top command, when we run the top command, so we see the RT flag there, and it indicates still -99 to 39 plus 39. It goes till there, and that indicates about the NICE value. So these NICE values will be given to the process automatically when they execute. So when we execute the process, it will get the NICE value automatically from the parent process, or by default it get the 0 value. But if suppose sometime what we want to manage the NICE value, we want to give a process a priority more than what usually they get. Usually they get 0. So we want to give a process, we want to run a process, and we want to give the process a more priority. Then we can change the NICE value. We can assign any NICE value from -20 to plus 19. But minus values can only be assigned by a root user. Normal users can only assign values which is plus. Plus, that means 0 to plus 90. Now to check that, we can use the ps command to check the process and those process NICE value also. So we can run ps command with this AXO option, all executed process with O for options, and then we can mention what options we want to see. PID, command, and NICE value. So when we run the top command, it shows as a PR here. If you see the PR flag, so these are the NICE value it is showing. And these are number 20, that means these are having very less priorities. Now if we want to see it separately from PS command, So we can use ps command with AXO option, and we want to see O for option, so we want to see the PID of the process, we want to see the commands, and also I want to see the nice value. So only I want to see these fields, so it is showing me only those fields. So what it is showing here, so it is showing the PID of the command, it is showing the command which is executing, and also it is showing the nice value. Now default nice value is 0, so default is 0 here, and some of that most of them is having a 0. As you can see, most of them is having 0, but some of them is having -20. That means they are having a very high priority. Then we have some Y5, then someone is having a 19, very less priority, very high priority default. Here we have -4, -8. Now these are all system process. This executes by default in the background, and this is what I run right now, and it is giving what? 0. It is the default one. Now if I want to run a process with the priority, then I can run it by using the nice command. I can use nice command with -n, and then I will mention the nice level, whatever the level I want to give to the process. So remember, only root user can use minus values, but normal users can only use the plus values. For example, I want to run a process with the nice value 5, and I want to run the process, let's say for example I want to run Firefox, or let's say sleep command. I'm running this process with the nice value 5, or I should have run it on a background so that we can see that. Okay, now I have run it in a background so that we can see what is happening. So let's check the process here, and we can see this is the process I executed, and this is having the value 5. So this is the nice value 5, it is which we have executed. So same as if we want to run a process and we want to run it with the nice value, so we can mention the nice value by using this nice command. By default, when we run a process, it will get the nice value by default. The default mostly it is what? 0. System process runs by default, they will get the default values. But if we want to run a process with the specific value, then we can use nice command with -n option, and then we can mention the level which we want. Now right now this process is running with the nice value 5. Now if suppose I want to increase or decrease the nice value, if this process is running and it is getting the priority based on the nice level, and that is 5. Now I want to make more priority, I want to give more priority to this process, so I will reduce the number. If I want to give less priority, then I will increase the number, but the process is already running. For running the new process, we use this command, nice command. For running the new process, we use the nice command. But if the process is already running, whether it is a system process or the process which we have executed, so we can do what? We can change the nice value of that process also, which is already executing, and we can use that, we can change that by using the renice command. So for renicing the command or command priority level, nice level, then what we need the PID of that command. So I want to renice this value, this process. The process ID is 6350. So I will use a command renice -n, and then whatever the nice level we want to give, we will mention the nice level. For example, I want to increase the nice level 5 to 10. Right now it is 5 and I want to change it to 10. Then I will mention the nice level 10, then I will mention the PID of that process, and that is what? 6350, and then I will give enter, and now it says that this process, which process ID is 6350, Old priority was 5, new priority is now 10. Old priority was 5, and we can check the new priority by using the ps command, and the new priority is what? 10. And where it is gone? It's here now. With the new priority, the priority is now 10. Same as we can reduce the priority also, and reducing can only be done by the administrator. Like I want to go to give a -10, so now it goes to -10, but it can done by only the root user. If normal user try this command, it cannot do that, it will give error. And now we can see the process is now running in the minus priority. So this is how we can do change the priority for every process. Any process we can run the process with the priority, or if the process is already running, then we can change the priority of that process. And if we want to kill the process, then we will use kill command with the 9-9 signal number 9, and then we can mention the process ID to kill the process, and it has been now killed. So this is how we can manage the process with the nice value. So next thing is about controlling the services and daemons. So systems, what is these services and daemons? Basically the system startup and serve the processes are managed by the system D system and service manager. So when the system start, so all the server processes, all the process are managed by the system D and the service manager. This program provides a method for activating system resources, server daemons and other process, both at boot time and on a running system. Now daemons, daemons are the process that wait or run in the background performing the various tasks. Generally daemons start automatically at boot time and continue to run until shutdown or until they are manually stopped. So by convention, the names of many daemon programs end in the letter D. So mostly daemon programs name will end it as a D. As we can see here, the system D. This is also a daemon. This is also a process, and this is also a daemon. So mostly in a Linux system, the processes we run, we execute, or by default it executed when the system is started, they also called daemons. To listen for connections, a daemon uses a socket, and this is the primary communication channel with the local or remote clients. Sockets may be created by daemons or may be separated from the daemons and be created by another process such as system D. The socket is passed to the daemon when the connection is established by the client. Then the service. So when we say service often refers to one or more daemons, but starting or stopping a service may instead make a one-time change to the state of the system, which does not involve leaving a daemon process running afterward. That is called on-shot. So daemons are the process which runs when we start the system. They runs in a background to do the particular task, and these services means they are actually collection of those multiple daemons. Those do some task. So if suppose we want to execute, we want to do the web services, we want to configure the web services. So we start the web services. That means we started the web services. All the daemons, they do the job in the background. And what is the job of these services or daemons? Their job is to provide the resources to the application. For example, when you are running some application like DHCP, DNS, web services, so whatever the resources it is required to run those services or those programs, those applications, so these services or daemons' job is to provide these resources to those applications, and they work in background and they do provide the resources. So these process, daemons and services job is to provide the resources to the application which is required to run. Now we want to manage the services. So for managing the services, we have a command systemctl. Systemctl command is a command to manage all the services daemons in our Linux system. Now systemctl, because now system D is a process for initializing the system. So mostly it is used the system all the services and daemons are managed by using this systemctl command. So if we want to check the status of any system, any services, then we will use this systemctl space status command, and then we will mention the service name to see the status of that particular service. So systemctl is the command to manage all the services daemons. So if you want to see the services status, daemons status, services status, so we can use the command systemctl status. Then we have to mention the name of that service. So for example, I want to check VSFTPD. Now all the services here, you can see this is what VSFTPD ends with D. That means it is a daemon, and it is also what dot service daemon. So this is actually dot service. So whatever the services we have in our Linux, all those services will end up with dot services. So whatever the name will be there, but they will end up with the dot services. So whenever you see the dot services, that means this is the service, and this is a service file. So when you check the status, it will show you the status of that service. It says that this service is VSFTPD daemon. This is the daemon for the FTP services, and then what, it is loaded. Now loaded means it is loaded properly, that means it is installed, but right now it is not running, it is disabled. And vendor, through the vendor it is also disabled. That means by default the status for this service daemon is what, is disabled. So whenever you install the fresh when you install the fresh Linux system, and when you check this service, it will always show you disabled. And disabled, that means right now it is not active, it is inactive and dead. Now loaded means what, it is loaded the configuration of this library binaries of these services. It has been loaded properly. There is no problem in the configurations. There is no problem of the system files here. The files are properly loaded, but it is not running right now. Now if I want to run the service, then what I will do, I will use the command systemctl start. Systemctl start, then I will mention the command, the service daemon name, vsftpd.service. Now this will do what, it will start this service. Now if I check the status, so now it is saying here that this service is now active and running, and it has been active since this date and time 7 seconds ago. And this is the process ID for this daemon. This is the command to execute. This is the command which execute to start this with the configuration file. This is the main configuration file for it. The exit code is exited. The status is 0. Exit code status is 0. That means it is successful. And main PID is this. This is the group, C group, and this is the main configuration file. This is the command, and it is saying here that the starting VSFTPD daemon, and it is now started. So it shows all the information about it. Now sometime when you see the status of some any service or daemon, what it shows here, these are the messages. These are the messages at the end related to that service, whether it is started, restarted, or what happened, if it is having some error. So it will show the message here. Suppose we start the service and the service is having some problem and it is not starting, it is giving error. So what is the error and what happened, it shows here under the messages. Now sometime it will, by default it will do what, it will cut the message, it will not show the whole message, because sometime it will not fit into the single line. One message will not fit into the single line. So what it will do, it will cut the message. It will not show the full message. So in that case, it will show you at the end of this message line, it will show that use -l option with the status command, so that it will show you the full detail. Whatever the message is cutting, so it will show all that information also. But also it will indicate you that you should use L also, -l option also, to see the length, full length. So if I use -l, here there is no, the message is not cutting here, but if it is cutting, then I will use -l option when I am using the status command. So it is not showing any extra thing, but when something is cutting here, the messages are not showing, or the full message is not showing here, then we can do what? We can use this option to see the full message. Now right now it is running. If we want to stop this, then what we will do, we will run command systemctl stop, and this will do what? It will stop the services. Now it is stopped, and you can see the messages. It was started, started, then it is stopping and stopped. So it is now stopped and it is now inactive and dead. Now again I will start this. Now when you check the status, it will say it is starting. Now it will start, but there is one more problem here. If you see here, this is the status, this is the default status. This default status indicates disable here. Now disable means when we restart the system, so it will go back to the default status, and default status is saying disable. So when we reboot our system, the service will go back to disable. It will inactive. It will inactive again. Right now it is running. This is the real time. This is the current status. But when we reboot the system, it will go back to disable because it is disabled here, and this is coming from vendors. We can't change this vendor preset because it is set by the vendor. This is the default status out of the box, but we can change this default status to enable, so that whenever our system reboots or restarts, then this service will always keep running. We can check the default status by using the command systemctl is enable. This command will show you that whether this service is enabled or disabled by default. Right now it is saying that this service is not enabled, it is disabled, and that is what we are seeing here also. So when our system reboots, then the service will go back to disabled. Now if I want to change the status, now this is interesting. So if I want to change the status to enabled, right now it is disabled. Now I want to change the status to enable. So whenever I boot the system, it will enable the service. Now for that, I will do what? I will use the command systemctl enable, and then I will mention the name of the service. Now this command will do what? It will set the default status to enabled, and whenever we reboot the system, shut down, restart, then the service will keep running. Now when I check is enabled, so it is now showing that this service is now enabled. And now if I check the status, here we can see that the default status is now enabled. Vendor preset is still disabled, we can't change that, but this is the default for our system, and we have changed it to enable. Now when we changed it to enable, then what happened here? So if you read carefully here, it is saying what? Created symlink from here to here. Now this is interesting. When we enable the service, it do what? It actually create the soft link in this directory. In this directory, it creates the link, it creates the soft link for the service, and the actual location for all the services file is here under USR lib system D system. This is the actual location for all the services file. So when we enable any service, it creates the soft link under etc. And that is because when our system reboots or start or restart, then it will check this etc directory for running the services. That means whenever whatever the services file are there in this location, it will start those services. And if the file is not there, then it will not start. And remember, it will not go to the default location, because if it goes to the default location, it will start everything, because all the files are there all the services files are there, but we don't want to enable everything. We want to enable only what we want. So system starts, when the system starts, it only check this directory. It does not go to the default directory. So when we make the service enable, then it do what? It creates the soft link under this directory. Now see, when I disable it, I will disable now. I will make it disable. Right now it is running. It will not change, but I want to change this default status to disable. So for that I will do what? I will use the systemctl command with the disable option, and then I will mention the name of the service which I want to disable. Now what happened when I disable the service? Then you can see here it is removing the same link from this etc directory. So very easy, it do what? It removes the link from there, so that whenever the system starts, it will not find any file there for starting this VS FTPD service. And we can check the status now. It is still running here, but by default status was disabled. That means when we reboot the system, the service will go back to disable state. These are the other options we can use with systemctl, like we can use the load, we can use the keyword loaded. Loaded, that means until configuration file has been processed. That means suppose the service is related to FTP, and if you want to change the configuration in FTP in configuration file, so the configuration file makes the changes, update the changes, we need to reboot the services. In Linux we don't have to reboot the whole system, we have to just reboot that particular services. So we don't have to reboot the whole system, we just have to reboot that particular service. We can reboot, instead of doing the restart, we can restart the service by using the command systemctl restart. So without restarting, we can do what? We can do the command loaded. So it will do what? It will don't restart the system, it will just reread the configuration file. Then this active command for the running, this running with one or more active continuing processes, active exited, this successfully completed on completed a one-time configuration. Then active waiting, this will show that running but waiting for an event. We can see these status when we run the command systemctl status. So when it says loaded, that means until configuration file has been loaded and has been processed, that means the whole configuration file has been processed properly, there is no problem. When we see the active and running, that means it is running with one or more continue process. And when we see the active exited, that means successfully completed one-time configuration. Active waiting, that means it is running but waiting for an event. Inactive, that means not running. Enable, this means what? Will be started at boot time, and disable will be started will not be started at the boot time. Static, that means cannot be enabled but may be started by an enabled unit automatically. So there is a status, you will see some services status as static also, and that means what? It cannot be enabled, but it can be enabled by some other services or other units automatically. So this is how we can monitor our system, and also how we can manage our services and daemons.